joined in. Again, this is our third night for Infertility Empowerment Week, and I welcome you into this space. We've been having some dynamic conversations, some much needed conversations as we learn to be advocates for ourselves. And the hope is to connect you with proper resources and people that are willing to fight for you. But first, of course, we fight for ourselves. So even you joining the call, registering, for some of you, it might be a big step. So I'm happy to see you. I'm happy that you came into this space, and I hope that it is beneficial for you and you leave today changed and with some better tools to take home with you. So with that, today we have Caroline Grace Ashurst from Restorative Harmony with us today. She is the founder of Restorative Harmony Acupuncture and Holistic Women's Fertility Coaching. She is dedicated to your vitality, helping to facilitate, support, empower, and transform. In her trauma-informed practice, she helps women prepare and optimize their physical, mental, emotional, hormonal health for conception. Her personalized attention, presence, and deep compassion make her offerings unique. Caroline is passionate about supporting women's health from preconception through postpartum and beyond, and is the creator of virtual coaching courses to help women all over the world with their fertility and postpartum journeys. Thanks to the kind words of her beloved clients, Restorative Harmony Acupuncture won Philadelphia Family Magazine's Love Award for Best Acupuncture in Philadelphia in 2020 and 2019. You can visit her on the web at restorative-harmony.com, and I will put that in the comments for those of you that want to be able to reach out to her. So with that, let's welcome Caroline. Thank you, Caroline, for joining us.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, so I know that you have a fertility coaching course that you offer, and I know today they'll just get just a snippet of the things that you offer. So we're excited to hear what you have to say.
Great. Do you want to introduce yourself at all, or are we just going with me?
You're right. I probably should, right?
Yeah, everyone needs to know why you're here and why you're doing this.
Absolutely. Sometimes I feel like I talk about myself a lot, so that's why I didn't, because I feel like I've been saying it every single night. But I guess just to give you a brief as to who I am, I'm founder of Barren Fruit. For those of you that haven't heard of me or aren't following me, you can follow me at Barren Fruit, and that's BARREN. My journey is a long one, but in short, I've dealt with endometriosis, fibroids, cysts, polyps, blocked tube, you name it, I dealt with it. Barren Fruit was actually born out of pain. Pain turned to purpose. And I really was in a dark place when I realized that the feelings that I was having of being alone, of accepting living in pain, I accepted living in pain since the age of 11. I didn't realize that I had endometriosis and things like that. Didn't go diagnosed until I was in my 30s. So I fight for that 11-year-old that's told to cope. I fight for that woman that has these ailments, but doctors aren't listening. They're ignoring her charts. They're requesting the test because that's how they get paid, but they're not reading them properly. And so I dealt with that for a very long time, just pleading, what's wrong with me? I don't know why I'm not getting pregnant, and those charts being unread. So it took me really taking the reins and demanding to read my own things, research, find doctors that were willing to, what we talked about last night was competent and compassionate physicians, people that are not just competent, but they're compassionate about what you're going through and are willing to advocate for you, with you, I should say, not just for you, but advocate right along with you, and are willing to listen and not force you into just specific options, but to lay out all your options and to welcome you to get second opinions. So I will say that for those of you that may be on this call that are losing hope, I was blessed with a child. I tried to conceive for over 5 years, not knowing what was wrong. And post-surgery, I'll say, post-surgery, because before surgery, it wasn't going to happen. I had too many things going on. But once I did meet a doctor, and for those of you that are local, my doctor was Dr. Barmat of Abington. I walked into his office and he said, "You need surgery." And that was just from looking at previous records that were available from my previous physician that never said a word. So I was told that I had 1% chance of ever conceiving a child after surgery with one tube left, which wasn't all the way clear. And I was told that it wasn't clear. And so I wasn't encouraged to try because I was risking my life. But God had another plan, because I wound up getting pregnant, and still to this day, doctors look at, what I look like on paper, and it's unexplainable. So with that, doctors are going to give you numbers because that's what they have to do. But I'm so thankful for my doctor because he still listened, he still did surgeries, but then God took it from there. And I am just, I knew then that I still had to press on with what was birthed in that dark place, which was bearing fruit, to help other women that are in that same place, that may be losing hope, that may feel like they're less than, that may feel like they're barren or unfruitful, and realize that that's a lie, that you are fruitful, you can accept your body, you can build and grow from that place. So that's why we're here, and that's why I fight, and that's why I continue to try to connect you with people that I know will fight with you. And when I met Caroline, like, we still haven't met in person. We've only been doing this virtual thing, but we met, I guess it was almost a year ago since we've been exchanging messages to my last conference. So I'm excited that we were able to connect and bring you on into our communities can collide. So I thank you for that.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing your story, because honestly, I think that storytelling is so powerful. It creates possibility. It reminds us of what we're capable of. Because the experience, and I'm gonna actually, it's funny, you said some things that are gonna really kind of dovetail with what I'm gonna talk about, but the experience of conceiving and giving birth, it's a miraculous experience no matter how it happens, right? So your story is so incredible, and you need to keep sharing it as much as possible with women who are going through this, because they need to hear good stories. It's really important to hear good stories. So anyway, thanks for the intro. Thanks for, introducing your work and why you're here. And thank you for everyone who's here today. Thank you for coming. Hi, I see some faces and see some names I know. So good to see you. And one thing I want to say, just, we're going to have a Q&A after I chat. This is a sacred place. This group of us right here is a sacred group. I want you to feel safe here. I want you to know that anything that you have come up for you that you want to talk about or ask about at the end is totally appropriate. So I just want to invite you to feel really safe and supported and held here, because that's kind of what we all need, especially when we're embarking on this journey or we've been on it for a while. So I'll tell you a little bit about me first. My name is Caroline Ashurst, like Deanna mentioned. She read you my bio. And I just want to say that I've been in practice doing acupuncture. I'm in my 10th year of practice. And a few years ago, I started to notice that there were some things that I could be supporting better in my treatment room with my clients. I practice downtown in Rittenhouse Square. If you're from Philadelphia, you probably know where that is. And I got more education. That's kind of one of the problems with, I think, when you start to get really interested in things, you start to become obsessed with educating yourself more. So I have that problem, but I wanted to learn more tools to help support women. So what happened was I learned all these tools based in functional medicine. and more holistic, natural approaches in addition to the Chinese medicine that I'd already been practicing. And that stuff was applicable for women anywhere. They didn't have to come downtown to see me. So I wanted to make it widely available because it is really powerful stuff. So a lot of my practice is based in kind of functional medicine based practices. And you can kind of Google that and see what that's all about. A lot of functional medicine is based on looking at hormonal health and looking at the imbalances that are there, and then using lifestyle, nutrition, and supplementation to help the body come back to balance naturally. So it's beautiful stuff. It really works. And that is mostly what my virtual coaching offerings kind of include. But today we're talking about the Fertility Trinity. That was the name of the first course that I ran, my virtual 6-week coaching course that I ran last year. I changed it a little bit this year just because of what's happening right now in our world. But the Trinity, the Fertility Trinity, is basically the mind, body, and spirit. So we all know that term. When I went to acupuncture school, we learned how to treat that. And it was actually given to us in one word. It was body, mind, spirit, like one whole word together is how it was referred to when we were in school, because it's all part of the same. It shouldn't be separated. So what's really important from my experience is to really focus on all those aspects. There is a physical aspect, there is a mindset aspect, and there is like the aspect of getting in touch with the purpose of what you're doing and why you want to bring in life, and connecting with that spirit that, that wants to come through you. So one of the things that I've become aware of in our culture is that women are just exhausted. I mean, we're just doing too much all the time, and that has an effect on how our hormones operate. So a lot of what I do is get women to come back to themselves and prioritize themselves. So oftentimes when women are trying to conceive, all the attention goes into conception, out of themselves and into this new, being they want to bring in, which is great. We want to put our energy into that. But what I've found is that when we bring all of our energy back to ourselves and we nurture and nourish ourselves and restore ourselves, and we make ourselves vital, that is when conception occurs. Now there's like obviously little spin-offs on this. Deanna had severe endometriosis and fibroids, which, yes, it's true. Like sometimes there needs to be a Western integration, Western medicine integrated into that. There are, some things that need that. So I just want to see from like a show of hands for those who are on video, is anyone here suffer from endometriosis or fibroids or heavy painful periods to your knowledge? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, because I'm gonna tweak my my talk a little bit if there's not a lot of women who have that. How many people have not been diagnosed with infertility but are here anyway, just to see how to conceive? Okay. And how many of you have been diagnosed with unexplained infertility? Anyone? Yeah?
Diminished ovarian reserve.
Okay, cool. Same with you, Audrey? Okay. Guys, you can work on that. You can work on that and you can change that. I just want to tell you that right now. Okay. And if a doctor has told you otherwise, don't listen to them. Okay. So we'll go on. Okay. So this is really appropriate for diminished ovarian reserve, blah, blah, blah. Right? High LH, low AMH, right? So much of that comes into the realm of self-care. So the best way to transform your fertility and to conceive is to focus on you, filling your cup, getting back in touch with your body and your mind, reconnecting. This is where I get a little like woo. So reconnecting with your divinity. So I'm sure all of us here has been, around babies and children. And I mean, honestly, is that experience not sacred and holy? especially newborn babies. It's such a sacred, holy experience to be with them, right? So being sacred is the same as having divinity. And what makes you different than that baby? Why are you not divine? Why, you know what I mean? What is different about us? Sure, we're older, we've lived life, but we were that divine beam of light when we were born to the people around us. So would you really want to consider your adult child anything less than that expression of the divine? So in etymology, which is what the meaning of words are, the root word for the adjective of the adjective divine is to shine. So to be divine is to shine. And aren't we all cosmic beings here on Earth? Just like our planet shines like a star in outer space, just like planets look like stars to us. So we want to honor our divinity as women, as creators. We have, and I'm going to talk more about this, but we have really medicalized down the experience of conception to numbers. You were talking about numbers, Diana. Numbers and statistics. And that sucks all of the mysticism and power that we have as women to bring life into this world. It has become a ho-hum thing, and it is not a ho-hum thing. So I want you to remember that you were given the body that you have as a gift because it is a divine process to conceive and give life. And you, first of all, are also not, your value is not based on that. It just so happens that that's something that you want to do, you have a strong desire to do. And because we're here alone makes us divine, that we participate in this process of becoming human. So what no one is talking to you about trying to conceive. So this is more about the numbers thing. So we are so laser focused on conceiving that we have dumbed down the process and have taken all of the magic and mystery out of it. I said that already. In turn, we have distorted it into an extremely masculizing process of statistics and data collecting, attainment, achievement, and body negative criticism that fragments and disintegrates our spirit from our body and mind. So who here has had body negative criticism? Maybe related to the fertility journey, maybe just related to, you know, the way our body looks. Yeah, right? I think at some point, every woman in this culture experiences that. And the process of trying to conceive can really force us into this other realm of criticism about our body not performing, like it's some kind of machine. And it's hard not to be in that space when you're constantly looking at data. So, what this does is it robs us of our innate feminine process that conception is. It robs us of our trust in our body's intrinsic ability to conceive, a process that is meant to be about inviting in, welcoming in, creating space for, and allowing, which is a feminine process. And I don't mean like womanly, I mean there's feminine and masculine energies out there. So the feminine experience of energy is that we have this space where we are welcoming in and inviting in. And that is what's stolen during this process, if you've been going through this for a while, or even sometimes when you're going through this process for a few months. I mean, women who have been trying to conceive for 6 months, if they knew that they wanted a baby, they're like, we're starting now, it's 6 months later, it's not happening, you know, instantaneously the mirror gets reflected back to what's wrong with me? Why is my body doing this, right? So it's also important because conception, so why does this matter? Why is it important? Because here's where we take it to the next level, when we take like, get it down into the ground. So this causes stress in our body, mind, and emotional realm. And this stress causes hormonal disruption and imbalance. So there's an actual hormonal link between stress and our progesterone and estrogen. So when you when I found this out, I was like, you know, you always know, like, oh, I'm stressed. It might be affecting my hormones, or like something happened to me this month. My period was different. There's something that happens there, right? But doctors, generally from my experience, don't know the ins and outs of how hormones operate. It's maddening. We generally don't as women. We're not really taught it, but there is an actual scientific reason why stress disrupts your hormone imbalance. So the cortisol that's made in our body from stress is not meant to be made for a longer period of time than a short momentary period of time. But under the amount of stress that we're under in our culture, the stress of maybe having a long-term fertility journey, the stress of dieting and over-exercising, the stress of our work, stress of any trauma that we had or have had, that creates, that makes our cortisol be released more from our adrenals. Cortisol is our stress hormone. So it's basically what has been designed into our hormonal system to protect us in times of danger. And it was never supposed to be used in a long-term way, but our evolution has not caught up with, our evolution of our bodies functioning has not caught up with the times. So our body's still operating under the guise of what was happening, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and how our hormones are operating. We haven't caught up. So when you have excess cortisol, it takes cortisol from the mother hormone called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone makes cortisol, it makes progesterone. So it'll pull pregnenolone into cortisol making, and progesterone gets left out of the picture. So much of period pain, fibroids, endometriosis, breast tenderness, PMS, like all of these things are related to estrogen, excess estrogen in the body. So when you have a progesterone deficiency, you automatically have excess estrogen. They work hand in hand. So it's important that we manage our stress. It's important that we care about our mindset. It's important that we love ourselves radically love ourselves. It's a concept that I kind of came up with through the years of my treatment, seeing this repetitive thing showing up in my practice with women. So radical self-love, and actually funny, I've seen it out there, out in the ethers in the world, people have been saying this or something like this. It means loving yourself no matter what. It's having your back. It's looking at those test results and committing yourself to you first, not those test results. You have to radically put yourself first, ironically, in order to conceive and have a full-term pregnancy and have a baby. Sometimes for some women, that's what has to happen. And I say for every woman, it's for the health of everyone in your family when you put yourself first, because after the baby comes, you're still going to need to do that in a lot of ways. Mom is going to come first. My husband waited hand and foot on me. I also had a C-section. But it's really important to do that. So,
Caroline, can I say something? Sorry.
Yeah.
Just as you're talking, it just, when you were mentioning, essentially it's self-care, self-love. And unfortunately, when you're going through this process of infertility, a lot of times that is suffering, which is why, yesterday we talked about a therapist. That's not something that everybody wants to do, but having someone, if not a therapist, someone that you can release to and someone you can talk to, because that's a very real thing. And if it's not dealt with now, when you are ready, and if you are blessed to either birth a child or have a child, whether you birth them through your womb or not, but if you're blessed to have a child, that it will follow you. Because I know for me, after I dealt with a lot when I became pregnant, and then after, still battling with feeling guilty about different things, you know, like I was very sick in my pregnancy, but it was something that I wanted. So I felt like almost like I deserved, because I knew there were still others still waiting for that. So it was like, well, if this is the way it's going to come, I'm going to take every day,
Sure.
all this sickness. And it was almost the same way when I was battling with the fibroids and the endometriosis. I thought the more pain that I was in, the closer I was to holding my future child. So I thought this was just the hand that I'm dealt. I cope with it, and whatever it is that I have to do to pay my way to get this blessing, like I was just going to do it. So I think it's a very real thing to like accept our bodies, which is why I'm very big on that with dealing with, you know, the whole reason I call it barren fruit, because it's a lie that we're not fruitful. Like we think that our body is broken. We think there's something wrong. Therefore, the self-love is lacking. We like to believe we do, you know, and I always like to believe that I was someone that I was confident, you know, but it took some things that happened in my life that I wasn't. Certainly when it came to my body and the fact that I wasn't able to produce with so many other people, and especially in my family and friends, like they were able to just pop out babies with no problem. So even coming to terms to talk about it, I didn't talk about it for a very long time. So it's a very real thing, what you're saying. Someone else also has a question for you, if you don't mind asking.
I saw that. Do we want to save it? Do we want to save it for Q&A? I can totally.
Okay, we can do that.
You want to do that?
We could do that.
Great. Thanks for your question, Earth or Jewel. I'm not sure which one's your first name. It's a beautiful name. So yeah, so it's important. This is all important because conception is a sacred, holy experience. And by no fault of our own, that experience has often been stolen from us as women living in the world that we live in. So the work that I do in my course is like, it's very much, like I said, body, mind, spirit. So we really address nutrition, supplementation, and mindset. We do grief composting, which means, you know, what beliefs and what thoughts do you have that are still running the show for you, that you've told yourself about your ability to conceive, about anything around that. And the whole intention of the course is to really restore that divine connection between the body, mind, and spirit. So all parts of us are in sync and working together. It addresses how to start caring for your temple. We call this your temple. This is your holy temple, so that you are integrated and therefore vital. So really, I made up this saying, vitality is the mother of conception. So you want to be vital. Vital means like having a lot of life, having a lot of vitality, right? So now is like the other side of the story. So the other side of the story is how our awareness, coupled with our commitment to our health, can give us liberation. And it is nothing short of a radical, revolutionary act to rise up and reclaim our health. And when I say that, I mean that it can be extremely difficult to change the way you live your life, because we're asked to do so many things as women to change, you know, by society, by commercials, by everything. We're constantly being told what we should and shouldn't do. And then when we are on this fertility trip, you know, there's all these other things that we're told that we have to do. And it's like, okay, so how much do I have to do? And how much do I have to let go of who I am? So it is really, truly a revolutionary act when we take a stand to be healthy, because that means we're going to have to do things that are probably really uncomfortable for us. Like I can tell you, getting folks to see how to change their nutrition and getting folks to be on board with it is some of the hardest stuff that anyone could ever do. And it is the most significant in this journey. What you're eating and what you're putting in your body has the biggest impact on your fertility, has the biggest potential for transforming it. So, you know, again, with being subjected to things without our permission, which is very common in our culture. And as women, we're subjected to so much without our permission. Some of us have trauma in our lineage, and it's actually researched and proven that we carry information in our genes of trauma. Some of us have had trauma in our own lives. And oftentimes we still don't even know that it was trauma. Trauma can look like a low level of being scared regularly as a child. That's called CPTSD. And trauma can look like systemic or societal oppression and repression. That lives in our body. There's this book called The Body Keeps the Score, which is about how trauma lives in our body. And I mean, that's just the book title. The body keeps the score. Our bodies feel this. And guess what? Going through fertility challenges and seeing doctors and having probes placed in places and having people touch you irreverently is also traumatic. So we have got to, like Deanna was saying, choose really good providers. Choose people that you want to be around, that treat you with respect, that you feel safe around. You're paying a lot of money. Make sure you want to be paying that person your hard-earned money. Go find somebody else. You do not have to tolerate anyone who doesn't treat you with respect. So let's see here. Here's something else we're subjected to that's also a big part of transforming your fertility. We are surrounded by toxins in the environment. We're exposed to them without our permission every day. Environmental pollution, toxins on and in our foods, environmental toxins in our homes that we don't realize we have, like cleaning solutions, flame retardants in our couches and our beds, chemicals and plastics and air fresheners. These are endocrine disruptors. They mess with your endocrine function, which is your hormones. So we have to be really aware of what we're bringing into our households because we are literally steeping ourselves in it. Makeup products we're using. About 20 years ago, I went all organic, all natural. And I highly recommend it because you don't know what you're putting on your skin. Your skin is like, I know Paige knows this because she probably heard, Paige is one of the women who's here. She uses the Ayurvedic products by, what's her name, Paige?
Lilavati.
Lilavati, right. I don't use Lilavati's products, but when I took a course from her and she said that basically if you would not eat something, you should not put it on your body. All of her stuff is literally edible, right? It smells delicious too. So
I also use the products you use too from Parlor, the skin products. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I use. Parlor is great. They make Ayurvedic skin products. I use theirs. They're in Philly. They also have a website called Wild Gatherings. And also Beauty Counter. Beautycounter.com is an awesome place to find makeup that's all natural, isn't tested on animals. Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing. This all can sound so overwhelming, and I know that it really can feel that way. I get it. But here's the thing. You can take baby steps. You can, it's sometimes when we wake up to these things, it's like the most intense at first. But these are all, that's why I said they're radical acts, because when you're doing this stuff, you're taking a stand for your health, and that means having to rearrange and reorganize a lot of your life. And I understand what I'm asking you to do. And I know how it changes the outcomes. So we've got to reclaim our health and take a stand for ourselves if we want to transform our futures, our planet, and ourselves. And purifying our bodies means choosing natural, healthy products, real organic whole foods, and not the greenwashed organics that are often out there. Like, who is it? Like maybe Acme brand. You need to really check the standards of the organics. It means cleaning up your nutritional health. And we have to take a stand for our health and fiercely commit to our well-being and being the best detectives we can be. We have to advocate for ourselves and everything we subject our bodies to, like Deanna was saying. You have to be your best advocate. So in this process, there is the reclamation of your power and your agency over your body. And you're taking a stand for yourself and saying, I matter enough that I'm going to take all this on. I matter enough. I love myself enough, and I'm worth it. So one last thing about what we're taking in, especially right now, really, like, this is your temple, this is your church. Would you want to bring in toxicity into church? Would you want to bring in some of the like terrible news you're reading outside into the temple? That stays outside the temple sometimes. So know how much news and information you literally can tolerate right now. Inform yourself the way you need to, but remember, like, what we consume on any level becomes us. What we take in. So surround yourself with beauty, surround yourself for inspiration. Go out in nature every day right now if you can. It's beautiful right now. It's been the most gorgeous spring. Drink in the things that remind you of the beauty of life. And focus on, you know, keeping that temple how you want it to be. Keeping in what you want in, and out what you want in. Yeah, Leah, sure. Leah shared something really smart. Yes, Roundup, which is called glyphosate. Have any of you, I could talk forever, Leah. So I'm like, oh gosh, how far of a rabbit hole do I want to go down? Has anyone here heard of glyphosate? So it's weed killer. It's Roundup that they sell at, you know, like home and garden stores, but it's like, basically, if you're not eating organic food and you're not really checking the organics that you're eating, it's on everything. And it's an endocrine disruptor. It's really infuriating that we're subjected to things, like I said, we didn't agree to be subjected to, and we are. So that's why we have to be really big, good detectives. Yeah, Leia sells some supplements that are really great to restore the gut health, because the gut health is really important, and glyphosate will have an effect on the gut health. So eat organic, do your homework. Check out the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. If you can't afford to do organic, you can afford to do Dirty Dozen and Clean 15. If you don't know what those are, the Dirty Dozen are the 12 most found to be chemically laden fruits and vegetables, and the Clean 15 are the fruits and vegetables that you can get away with not having organic. So that's a great place to start. The Environmental Working Group.org, I believe, is great. They have so much information about what's safe to be eating. Is it time for Q&A? It looks like we're kind of beyond time for Q&A, so I'll get to a couple of questions.
Got to get to answer some of these questions. I'll read them off to you.
Sure.
All right, so any advice for conception after 40 for women dealing with endometriosis?
Sure, yes. So castor oil packs are incredible for endometriosis and fibroids. They help detox your liver, which the liver detoxifies the excess estrogen in the body. So if you have endometriosis or fibroids, you just kind of innately probably have an estrogen situation happening. So I actually have to make a video, a castor oil pack video. That's on my to-do list. But if you Google it, you should get instructions how to do that. So check it out. You can use the castor oil pack over your liver on your abdomen for 2 weeks out of the month from the time that you ovulate to bleeding. And you could use it over your uterus and your lower abdomen from day 1 of your cycle to when you ovulate. And you can do that 3 days a week, consecutive days a week. I recommend that for everybody. I did that before I conceived as just like routine way to cleanse my blood, detoxify my liver. And I'm going to get to your question, Colleen. I see it. Thank you. And then for over 40, and this is for the women who are also here asking about low ovarian reserve or high LH and low AMH. So I'm going to tell you a super duper secret that I give away in my course. I'm going to give it to you now. There are 2 supplements that you want to get on. One of them is called N-acetylcysteine. And if you want to put my email in the chat, your email in the chat box, I can send you an invitation to get these supplements from my online dispensary if you want. So N-acetylcysteine, it's M.Ac. It's called NAC or N hyphen. I'm going to write it in the chat box for you guys. N-acetylcysteine. I think that's how you spell cysteine. It might be CY. Yeah. 600 milligrams a day. And you also want to be taking CoQ10, 600 milligrams a day. CoQ10 is really expensive, so you could probably get away with taking 300 to 600 a day. That is awesome. Also, self-care, 8 hours of sleep, eating really good foods. Don't let your blood sugar drop throughout the day. Maintain your blood sugar by eating enough protein and fat. Eating a lot of good fat is really good for you. Avocado, half an avocado in every meal. Like a tablespoon of coconut oil in your morning, smoothie or oatmeal or chia pudding or whatever you're eating in the morning. Extra virgin olive oil on salads, not cooked. It's not supposed to be heated high. Walnuts are really great fatty fats to just snack on. So yeah, you want to bring blood flow into your uterus because blood is what carries the nutrients and what moves things. So castor oil packs. You want to have blood really circulate your ovaries to increase their functioning. So yeah, all the things I talked about with whole foods, yes, yes, yes. But listen, I'm going to tell you this, really important, newsflash. You can take the best supplements, but if you're not doing the other things, you're wasting your money. So you got to stack it. You got to stack it up. And Colleen, I had my girl in October 2016 too.
Sorry, before you move on to that, I also want to mention like yoni steaming. I don't know if anybody on here, I know that we have 2 yoni steam practitioners on the line. We have both Lisa and Sabrina, which also can help when you're talking about stimulating blood flow through the womb. So raise your hand if you do not know what yoni steaming is or have never done it or do not know the benefits of it. Okay. Just really quick, Sabrina or Lisa, if you can just explain what it is for those that do not know so that they also know about that option. If you can unmute yourself. Maybe they stepped away. All right, if not, if they can actually.
Greetings, how are you?
Okay, great. Hey, Lisa.
Hi. Okay,
Hey, Lisa.
so how are you? Yoni steaming is a practice that you use herbs. So you form different herbal blends depending on what's happening in the body. and what you need. That's how we blend your herbs. So you sit over a pot, and the essence of the oil from the flowers just go up into the tissue, and it creates the effect to break down and detoxify, as well as cleansing out whatever. It's just like, you know how essential oils go into the bloodstream within seconds? So the oils from the plants does the same exact thing. It's just geared straight to the womb, and it goes right into that tissue. So it starts to break down anything, any buildup, creates blood flow, that circulation is moving. It's going to help with the endocrine system and balancing out those hormones. You know, it just depends on the herb that's chosen.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
And
I'm a huge advocate of that. I've done yoni steaming and it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps regulate cycles.
Yes. Yeah, it's relaxing. So anyone that's like feeling anxious about having, you know, getting pregnant and conceiving, it's going to help to balance and relax your body as well. Because that's very important. I heard you were talking about being more relaxed and not anxious. And that's just something that'll really help as well.
Thank you. So I want to continue with Colleen's question here.
I don't really know if it was a specific question, but
We're sharing what's been going
Yeah.
on with you. I'm so sorry you've gone through so many miscarriages.
thank you. It's been a crazy time. And I had no trouble having my first. And I had, about when he was 14 months old, I got pregnant again. And every time I tried, I got pregnant immediately. And then I would miscarry around like 8-9 weeks. And then I went through a year of IVF, and you know, I have a low AMH, they said, really low AMH, like I'm 36, but my AMH was like a 42-year-old. So now I'm just trying naturally, and it hasn't happened still. Now I'm not getting pregnant. And I'm like, well, it's probably stress combined with
Yeah.
hormones that have been pumped through my body over last year.
Well, you know, also this is like not an uncommon thing for, and I'm assuming you're not breastfeeding. You were stopped.
Oh gosh, no, I did for like 15 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really that uncommon for secondary infertility because mom's exhausted. You know, again, it's that vitality thing. You know, maybe you need to start taking things off your plate in your family households. How much are you taking on? You know, everyone wants to do everything. Moms want to do everything. And, you know, that's a lot of like cultural programming, and I mean, that's fine if that's what you want to do. And what do you need to take off your plate?
Right.
I'm sure immediately you're like, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I need to take off.
Well,
And
I have
asking for help.
very demanding career and a 3.5-year-old boy.
Yeah. Yep. Do the supplementation, you know, really focus on eating whole foods, getting enough fat in your diet. Are you getting enough iron? Do you eat red meat?
I do eat red meat. I mean, I try to limit it. I mean, I probably eat it like once a week, twice a week
Okay.
at most, but I, you know, I eat plenty of meat and fish and veggies, and I probably could eat more fruit, I guess, but I'm definitely tired a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you need that vitality, right? You need that energy for your body to feel like, oh yeah, there's a lot of energy here. I can give some away, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's like so many things we could talk about. You probably have high cortisol.
Yeah.
And high cortisol will totally like zap the AMH level and the LH. It'll mess with that. You know, that's why it's so important for us to focus on self-care.
Right. And I totally feel with what Deanna said about feeling like barren, because I think it definitely has made me feel like less of a woman for a while. And I think it's really hurt my like self-esteem. And it's not like I don't have good support. I have a super supportive husband. I have a super supportive family and friends, but you know, in the back of my mind, it's like, I always feel like, but I'm not like good in that way. And it's so hard. And I know this is like, I don't mean to like hijack this meeting. And I'm sure everybody feels that way.
So you're saying,
Sorry.
no, go ahead, Diona.
You are not hijacking the meeting. No, I feel you in my heart when you say that, because that's like, that's why I do this. Like, that's my main purpose, to make people that are having those feelings, like, remind them that you are more than that. You are more. Simply, you are more. And sometimes we're hard on ourselves. Like you, I had a very supportive husband, but it didn't change it, because we have to see it in ourselves.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, when we want to do, you know, get in shape and go to the gym, somebody else might want that for us or go with us, but until we want to do that ourselves, it's the same thing with our internal joy. That's something that comes from inside, and if that's not there, or that self-love, we have to fully accept ourselves the way that we are.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that we're chosen for this. And that's what I came to terms with, to really feel as though, which is why I call it and you know, because it's Infertility Awareness Week, but that's why I call it Infertility Empowerment Week, because I truly want to empower everyone that's on the line that does feel the way you feel, because I know you're not alone with how you feel. And you'll have good days and bad days. You might have a day that you feel really good about yourself, and all it takes is one person to say something sideways, right? You know, I can't tell you how many times people would walk up to me and say, "You're not pregnant yet?" Or, you know, "What's taking so long?" Or, "What, you can't have kids?" Like,
Yeah.
why would you say that? Like, you don't know what someone is dealing with. You don't know. And even now, I have a child that a lot of people don't know that I miscarried. So after her. So when they're asking, "Well, when are you going to give them a sibling?" You know, or when is she going to, you know, and it's ironic, because my daughter, who I don't think she remembers when I said I was pregnant. I was early, but she talks about a sibling, which is very eerie to me. And the sibling has a gender, and I didn't even know the gender yet, you know, so it's just interesting, because I know kids feel different things. So I'm always listening to her, but we're never over the things that we go through. The way someone put it to me, that was comforting for me with dealing with miscarriage, and I have not had as many as you have, so my heart does go out to you. But I found gratitude in that soul being with me for just that moment. It was not with me for as long as I would have liked to, but I thank God for the moment for that soul being with me. And for those that struggle to give birth, there is still a blessing in, as you said, it's a miraculous thing already when you conceive. It's already miraculous. And then when you struggle, it's even more miraculous, because it's like, it has to be the perfect storm. So the fact that it even happened is still miraculous in that moment. And sometimes we still have to celebrate that. So, you know, even though other people might not see that pain, they might not understand it. I think I posted today, it's silent. It's one of those things that are silent, that other people don't always recognize our grief, but it's a real thing, and it's okay. And it's okay to feel the way you feel. But also, I just want you to know that you are definitely more than that. You are beautiful. Your body is not broken, even though we feel like it is, like something's wrong. Because I had those moments. I was just talking earlier today. That was my changing point when I went into the doctor's office, a new doctor that I did not know, and laid out and cried the ugliest cry, and just screaming, "What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? Something's wrong with me." And the assistant looked scared in the corner, didn't know what to do, you know, but it was the first doctor that prayed with me, which most doctors won't. First doctor that prayed with me, and she said, "Do you believe in God? Well, act like it." She was like, "I'm going to put a baby in your arms, so stop it," you know. And she was a little bit more graceful with it, but at the same time, sometimes you have to be talked to that way, you know, to snap out of it. And so I hope that's encouraging for you, because I still find gratitude in, like, I was told I wouldn't conceive at all. So the fact that God even created life in me, even though that life's not with me for that moment, I'm so thankful. But although the loss part can be ugly, you know, the loss is difficult. But, you know, I thank you for your courage. I thank you for your transparency, for even sharing, you know, because I know that takes that takes a big step. So you can reach out to me anytime. I truly have a heart for this and that part, of helping to replenish that, because I don't want anybody to feel that.
Thank you. I sometimes I wonder if, like, when I had my son, I was at my 40-week checkup, I developed preeclampsia. And then after I had him, it took 30 hours. I ended up having a C-section because I didn't get to 10 centimeters. My blood pressure didn't go down. I was in the hospital for a week. And sometimes I wonder if, like, because it was so traumatic, if my body just, like, held on to that. And that's why I kept having miscarriages, because it was so scary, you know, like, they were like, "We got to get your blood pressure down. We don't want you to have a stroke, blah, 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 blah." And, like, here I had this perfectly healthy boy that I just had, but we couldn't leave the hospital because I was the one that they couldn't get healthy. And I didn't have any history of health problems, but for whatever reason, you know, my blood pressure went crazy. And sometimes I just wonder if, like, the trauma of a previous birth can have a lasting effect on your fertility.
I want to say absolutely. I mean, that's why I had a very traumatic birth myself. And those can be mental, emotional, spiritual blocks to conception. Absolutely. But what's great is that's inside you, and you can transform that. You know, our bodies want to protect us. You know, having a traumatic birth can definitely, and what's interesting is that's what you thought. Do you know what I mean? That's where you went. So it's like that, that's interesting that that's where you went. There is a piece of that somewhere in your experience. I don't know if that's what's stopping you from getting pregnant, but I would say that that's at play. Something's going on with that in your body. And I recommend journaling from the place, "I'm scared to get pregnant because of what happened before." Like, actually journal from there and see what happens, and do stream of consciousness, and don't judge anything that comes out of your mouth or out of your pen. Typing is also really great because your mind goes really fast, and typing, I feel like I can catch up with my mind faster when I type than when I write. And you might just need to dump that stuff. You know, like, here's the reality. If you have a traumatic birth, chances are you're not really processing it. I mean, maybe years later, or maybe, you know, I had postpartum depression. So that's kind of how I ended up processing it, you know. But yeah, I mean, you might have not been processing it because you hit the ground running as a new mom. You're busy being a mom. You're in that world, and you're going back to work. And then all of a sudden, life keeps going. And if you haven't seen a therapist about it, if you haven't done work specifically around it, then I would say maybe there's something there for you to look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing, you know, about your miscarriages. And I totally believe that you can get pregnant. Like, there's not a doubt in my mind. Same with you, Aubrey, I think she checked out. I think she left. I definitely think all of you have that capability. It's a matter of finding out, being a detective and finding out what's going on with you. You know, I would be interested to see how your thyroid functionings go, how your thyroid is, Colleen. A lot of times after women give birth, they have their thyroid kind of changes. They could have low subclinical thyroid, hypothyroidism.
I know, and I've had all of that stuff checked because that's
Well,
where my mind went to, because my mom has an underactive thyroid, but they would say, well, it's in the range. Everything's in the range. And, you know, I thought like my AMH was like, there was, I mean, I do take CoQ10, but I thought it was like, there's nothing I can really do. Like what's left in my body is what's left, you know, for whatever reason, you know, I've never been like a smoker or any, I don't know. I don't know what the reason is, but.
so here's a quick thing about thyroid issues. So if you go to a regular physician, they're going to tell you that your thyroid is within range. But if you go to someone who practices functional medicine, it is a much more nuanced system of what's within range. So you would have to talk to somebody who could look at, like, get you labs that would include your TSH, your T3, your free T3, free T4, your antibodies. You have 2 different antibodies that can be checked for thyroid antibodies. You will want to have someone who has a functional medicine background look at your labs for you. I actually am doing that with a few of my clients right now. So I could help you with that if you decide you want to go down that route, and we could strategize, you know, see if that's what's going on for you. I do one-on-one coaching outside of my course.
Okay.
And, you know, feel free to ask me any questions email-wise. I don't know if you guys have my email or are able to access that. You probably can find Instagram.
I follow you on Instagram, so I'm sure I can find it.
When we because we need to wrap up anyway, but once I send a thank you to everybody for participating, I'm going to put in there a few of the things that were like mentioned in there, because I know Caroline threw out a bunch of good tips. I'll also include some information on yoni steaming. Somebody was also asking about a therapist, so I'll include that in there. We'll also include your contact information, like your social media handles, Caroline, and the best email to contact you. So is there anything else you think that anybody, like, you would like to remember that was mentioned that you may not have had a chance to jot down? And I'll make sure, because I want to make sure we get the proper information out to everyone.
Earth Jewel had asked before or after the moon cycle about, I don't know what you were asking about, Earth Jewel. Can you tell me? What about after, before the moon cycle? What exactly do you want to know about that timing?
Peace, everyone.
Hi.
And so the question was, I'm sorry, let me just walk away. The question was, how often should the steaming happen, the yoni steaming, and should it be before or after the moon cycle? Did you hear me?
I heard you. I'm
sorry.
I'm not the expert on yoni steaming.
Okay.
I can tell you that you don't want to do it while you're cycling. So, I mean, you don't want to do it while you're bleeding. But
Okay.
I don't know if any of the yoni steam practitioners are still here to talk about it.
That's what
I'm
was
here.
the question. Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Hey, hello. So
How
you
are
want
you?
you want to do yoni steaming twice? How you doing? Twice a month. You don't, like Caroline was saying that you don't want to do it during your menstrual cycle, so you want to do it before and you want to do it after. But when you do yoni steaming, it has to be consistent to actually always do it. Just like you're doing your diet and the different things that you're doing, it has to be a continuous thing. Not do it just once or twice. Because doing it all the time and making it within your regimen all the time, that's how it helps, by you doing it all the time. So before and after, twice a month.
Okay. I was also curious because this woman was saying, I'm sorry, I gotta look at the chat. The other host, and so Caroline, and so I apologize about that. She was mentioning like eating organic and things, and then like the supplements. So then also applying like herbs in your diet, because I understand the steaming, but then it's like, what herbs can I ingest more frequent? Am I making more raspberry leaf tea, or whatever it is, red clover? I'm not sure what should I be drinking or infuse my foods with to also
you're
help?
asking me that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not an herbalist.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
anything, no, it's okay. The supplements that I usually recommend are like vitamins and minerals. However, I will say that a great thing herbally for women who are trying to get pregnant, and by the way, here's one thing that's really important to know. It's not good to just take the supplements that everyone's taking for fertility because they're not good for everyone. So
Okay.
I wouldn't just like buy supplements that somebody like, oh yeah, maca powder helped me. Oh yeah, you know, like chaseberry, Vitex helped me. I would not, those are specific for specific indications. But I will say that I would almost say for all women who are trying to build their iron, build their chi and vitality, nettles infusions are fantastic.
So nettles, okay.
Nettles, you would want to get like a quart glass container and take a handful of dried nettles, put it in there, and pour hot water over it.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it's like tincture. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My
So
mind went to making tinctures. I'm sorry.
yeah, tinctures are good too. Tinctures are good too. If people don't tincture stuff, then they could do it, you know, just a handful in like a quart jar of water, pour it over, let it sit overnight, and then the next day you drink it like water. That helps build your immunity. It helps build blood. It helps with seasonal allergies. It's really tonifying and supportive for your body. So I recommend that.
Wonderful. That's amazing. I was mentioning to the other hosts too in the private chat, because I have a new husband, and so he's younger than me, and then he's like, what's 4 children? And I'm like, oh my God, we didn't even conceive the first one. So, and then I'm gonna be 40 in December. And so I'm just like, that's not a reality to have 4 children. Like, that's just not, I don't even want to do that. So I was honest about that part, but that pressure, you know, so then I mentioned like, damn, maybe I should go to a therapist or couples therapy or something to deal with the mindset, because it's also changing the mindset. And that's what I was getting from what you were saying about the self-care and, you know, things like that. It's just like in the mental space of like, it's realistically not going to be 4 babies. You know what I mean? Like, let's just get through having the first one, you know?
Yeah, I definitely, I know I was private messaging you a lot because
It's okay.
There was a lot of things that we covered and talked about yesterday. So I have a whole list of herbs.
Oh, okay. I'm
Sabrina
sorry.
that was just talking is a herbalist and a health coach. So I definitely want to get you in contact with her offline. And so I'm going to also send you a therapist information, as well as some of the yoni steaming information. So I think that, along with what Caroline is offering, I think should give you a good list of things to get through. But as I was saying to you and anybody else, like, I wouldn't say just putting pressure on yourself in number and time. Like, don't do that.
I have so much anxiety.
Divine timing.
So it's too much. So I think first, just you have to focus on the self-love. And so I'm going to get you, because I know people are starting to drop off because I know we ran over. So I want to wrap this up, but I'm going to send out that information to you along with our contact information, so that we will get the resources to you. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Caroline. I appreciate you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge, and also for, you know, Sabrina and Lisa jumping in there unknown, because I didn't tell you that you were, you know, but because it was coming up, I wanted to make sure that information came out. So tomorrow, if you have not registered already, please do so. And tomorrow's topic is dealing with, it's called Meditation and Grace. So we're going to be talking about, we're going to be starting with meditation, but we're going to be talking about that very thing that some people might be dealing with if we're blaming ourselves for how we feel, for decisions that we've made, or for things that we've gone through. So that's why we're going to start with meditation, because it's going to be some real talk and some real stories. So it's in the morning. So we're going to start our day bright and early. So if you haven't registered, I welcome you into that space at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's a session you do not want to miss. All right. Thanks, guys, and hopefully see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much for having me. If anyone wants to ask me any questions, I'm at Restorative Harmony on Instagram. Feel free to DM me.